Coach DeMarco here with another Get Better Basketball Live. Today, my guest is Coach Travis Hardenburger, former head basketball coach at Wamego High School in Kansas, who is now the current middle school coach in Wamego. Coach Hardenburger is going to talk to us about the modified swing offense and counters off of it. This is a must-see for all basketball coaches. Another Get Better Basketball Live is up now. Coach DeMarco here with another Get Better Basketball Live. Today, my guest is Coach Travis Hardenburger, who is the middle school coach in Wamego and former high school head basketball coach at Wamego as well. Coach, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks. I'm excited to be on.
I'm excited to have you, Coach, because you're going to talk about the swing offense, and that's not a topic that I've discussed in the past, and it's not an area of expertise for me. So I'm interested on how you've learned about the swing offense and when you got started using it.
I'm always looking for what fits my guys, and I'm not saying I'm not a system coach by any means. I love the swing offense. I kind of flip back and forth between, if I got bigs, I love the high-low offense. Bill Selfs. In fact, we ran it last year, but normally, I mean, you're small town Kansas. We don't get a lot of big guys. So we got to be creative in what we do. And what the swing offense has done for us is it allows us to utilize the guys we have, our guys, maybe we'll get a kid in 8th grade that's 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot, but everybody else is around 5'5", 5'6", 5'7". And so the swing allows us to do a lot of variation on the court that we wouldn't be able to do if we had a bunch of bigs. Offense was introduced, you listen to clinics, you search the internet, you're constantly looking for stuff. And I don't know when I ran into Bo Ryan's swing offense, but I started watching YouTube clips of Wisconsin games and just studying it. And I'm like, let's give it a whirl. We started running it out about, 2 or 3 years ago, and had a ton of success at the middle school level. Teams just have a hard time guarding it if you have quick guards and a big that can shoot from the top of the key. So it's worked really well for us, and we're sticking to it. So
what are the key components, Coach, or the things that you feel like are most critical to be successful when you're running the swing offense?
Spacing and patience. I listened to a clinic Gino Ariema did. I'm a big Gino fan. I love Gino. And he did a clinic back in 2000, I think it was. And he said whenever he goes and visits NBA coaches, all they practice in their practices are spacing. So we have to drill to our kids. There has to be great spacing on the floor. And the thing with young kids, man, they hate waiting for screens to be set. They want to go. And we talk about how you're leaving your teammate out to dry with an illegal screen if you go too soon. So we practice spacing. We practice a lot of patience. We do a lot of small-sided games with the swing. A lot of 2-on-2 stuff, 3-on-3, and breakdown components before we put it all together.
What do you think it is about this offense, either specific to your level or, it sounds like you've studied Wisconsin a little bit when they were using it with Bo Ryan. So what is it about this offense that gives defenses some challenges?
We do a lot of counter stuff. And so we have that one big that we can get some switches. And when we get that switch, we like to take advantage of it. The other part that we kill people with is if I've got 2 years ago, I was blessed with 2 really lanky, quick guards. And they were good enough to post up another guard in the paint, but they were also great off the dribble. And so when we have that action, when there's a screen to the side and he's coming up that screen where he can curl or pop to the top and catch, we would kill people on that dribble drive in the middle of the lane. Pull-up jumpers at the elbow, just a quick 3 at the top. It seems like that's where we would have the most success. I mean, the UCLA cut at the top, the beginning of the offense, we do a really great counter that we get teams with that I'll show you. But just off the dribble, just attack. It spreads them out enough that we just attack. And that's the word we use a lot in practice is attack. Don't be patient with this continuing offense. If an opportunity presents itself, let's attack the rim.
So, Coach, you mentioned a couple of different actions. Before we get into kind of the basic setup and some of the diagrams, I heard you mention a UCLA cut. It sounds like some screens away from the ball, and it is a continuity where it's going to kind of that continuous action. It's going to reset itself. What are some of the other actions that happen within this offense?
It's almost like a little bit of a flex cut. One of the major things, and I did this with Bill Self's high-low, is we did a lot of, we'll have our guys set that screen, but we'll also have them flash back and roll to the basket. And a lot of times you'll catch the defense napping on that when the guy guarding the screener will be napping, and you can flash back, especially middle school, because a lot of coaches won't teach it. You don't get coaches in middle school and even at the freshman and JV levels that teach a lot of defending roll, pick and rolls, and flashing back to the ball. So we do a lot of that off that flex cut, whatever you want to call it. But the counters are where we get people. And it's good too, because when we have a lead late in the game, we can run this, and eventually defense just gets tired, and we do a little back cut action with it too. And so there's a lot of stuff you can do.
Coach, just one last question before we jump in here. How challenging is it? I know you're using it at the middle school level, and obviously it's been used at the college level. It could be high school. How challenging is it to, teach players these different actions, and really what goes into that teaching of this offense?
I think it's just so many coaches, and I'm hoping I'm speaking to some young guys. I've been doing this. I haven't been doing this as long as a lot of people. I think 21 years. A lot of the young guys don't fit a bunch of stuff in especially at the younger age. I know we see all these cool plays, and we see what happens on an ESPN game and go, oh my gosh, I got to get that in. Don't. Keep it simple. We start with teaching the offense, and then what's amazing when we start practicing it, and is what I like to do, is opportunity presents itself when we're going 5-on-5 in a half court. And I can stop and I say, hey, look, that was really good, but look what we can do next with this. And they see it, and then all of a sudden it clicks a little bit, and they go, okay, and so the next time we kind of set that up, they try it, and boom, scoring opportunity. And then once that presents itself, then we'll introduce a little small-sided drill to where they're repeating that action every day or every other day.
Yeah, it's great advice for coaches too, especially keeping it simple when you're able to do so. I think that goes a long way. So interested to see kind of the basic setup here, Coach, and how you get started and how you initiate the action in the swing offense.
So the basic action is you're going to the two. Here comes that UCLA cut. And a lot of times teams, they'll sag their 5 off of that and prevent that from happening. If you really get a good big guy that can shoot, especially at the younger levels, popping off that really quick and catching, there's a three-point opportunity waiting to happen, and suddenly they can't sag off of that. The other thing too, and this year I'm pretty excited about, I got a big that's really good off the dribble. And so when we catch this, and I had one 2 years ago, when that 5 catches that after he pops up and he catches that reversal, we practice, rip through and hit the lane. And there's just not, because what you have is you have these shooters that are sagging over. There's not a lot of help. And it turns out the guy that's helping, because the 5 gets beat, is a point guard guarding a point guard. And we have a lot of success with that. And so when you say keep it simple, I don't think a lot of coaches keep it simple. They want to run all this different action. And you don't have to do that. You keep it simple, and you provide these scoring opportunities for these kids, and they'll thrive at it. And that's one we really have a lot of success with at the beginning of it. So that's just the start. And if you need me to stop, let me know. So let's say he's in the paint and the 5 catches and nothing's there. While that pass is made to 2, we've got that screen action over here to keep the defense honest. And I tell my guys to wait a little bit on this. only because I talked about that dribble drive opportunity. When 5 reverses to 3, and I like to start this offense, and I tell my guys, I want my guy that can take it off the dribble, running that lane a lot of times over here. And it doesn't happen all the time. But when this pass is made and that offense is moving, again, we're spread out. We scored so many times at 3, catching it off the dribble and going into the paint. And we got a little dump down, and you've got to teach your guards how to post up and how to score in the paint in this offense, especially if we get. Last year I had an oversized point guard. I mean, he was a big guy and he could score, and we could run him off that into the paint, and we just call it mouse in the house, and we dump it down to him, and he'd take that. We get another point guard. It's 5'2", 5'3". He's scoring on him with ease. So there's a lot of different things you can do out of this. The other part of this is if 5 has the ball and we set this over here on 3, 4 sets that. And I talked about rolling back to the basket. Just a simple roll right there to the hoop gives that little back door right there. And I'm telling you, as you run this continuity a couple times, and then I'll say, at a timeout, I'll say, hey, let's look for the backdoor action on the first reversal. And so we'll come out and we'll run. I said, run it twice, and then let's look. Third time, boom, layup. Because that team is just running that same defense over and over again. So that's where we're at.
And I just wanted to say, what I really love about this, just seeing kind of initial actions and your coaching points is, first guy catches, he's catching with a purpose, right? He can catch, rip through, and drive. Second catch, guy's an option to score. So it just sounds like you're really coaching these players with opportunities on every catch. You have a chance to really think about, attacking the basket. Is that really kind of the mentality?
We really love to teach our kids attack. The game has changed so much. And in our middle school games, I went from coaching high school, we had 8-minute quarters, and we have 6-minute quarters now. So, that the day, I'm sorry if I offend any defensive coaches, the day of we don't pick up a basketball the first week, those are done. I'm sorry, it's an offensive game. You got to score to win. Yes, we practice defense, but as soon as my mind shift changed on that, we started to become more successful. You have to attack the rim. I don't think kids are very good at. They're not taught a lot of how to close out. You'll get lazy closeouts again in this offense, and so you got to teach your kids, I think, too, body awareness of if they're coming at that angle, what's the best angle to attack at? Not just catch and attack, but catch and attack with a purpose. Where are we attacking? How are we attacking? You'd be surprised how middle schoolers can pick up on that instead of saying, well, we need to pick here and a roll here, and you got to get this action over here. Keeping it simple, but teaching the game of basketball to where they know what to do in a situation is so much bigger than, oh, I've got this great offense and we do all this action. Teach them how to play the game, and the offense will present those opportunities.
That's a great point, Coach, and I love the attacking mentality. So after that screen, what's the next step in the offense?
Well, the 4 had screened over 3, so we make this pass here. So 3 has the ball now, and so we have that flex cut action, whatever you want to call it, where I want to make sure I'm being seen here, where we set that little screen and 2 will come across the lane here. And that's where you start to get your continuity action with the next pass. Again, here's an opportunity that presents itself. After 1 catches that ball, again, we teach a lot of, after you set the screen, roll back to the basket. And so when 1 sets that, if he could flash right into here, you'll be surprised how many jumpers you're going to get right in the middle of the lane. Teams don't defend it. They don't teach how to recover off of defending someone who's setting a screen. And so that opportunity a lot of times presents itself. And then if it's not there, again, teaching your bigs how to post up. A lot of times if two gets down there, we teach them how to bury the other guard down there. If not, the same continued of the offense happens, and it just continues that way. UCLA cut, back screen here. It's the same things happening, and it's just a simple offense, but you can add so much. Now, here's where we really get teams, and we get them. We got our 1, our 5, our 2, our 4, and our 3. So we make this pass, and he'll come up and set this. Now, you can call it whatever you want. We've called it bump in the past. Is if I say run bump. So 1 will go down like he's doing it, but he'll run that curl action back to the top. You'll get a 3 out of it, but here's where teams aren't very good. Once 5 sets that, he flashes to the basket, or he'll slip it. He'll slip that screen, and you'll get that little dump down to the post down there. Just off that little screen right there. He's
Coach,
turned.
I love that. Like simple little wrinkle, but that counter off of that, because teams start to, he's making a UCLA cut. Now kind of hits the brakes and pops back up. He might be open, but 5, there's a good chance 5's defender is going to have to come off to help on that 3-pointer, and 5's going to slip right to the hoop and be open. So that's a really nice wrinkle and really, really simple. So you say you would call that bump, or is that typically the
terminology? You can name it whatever you want: curl, bump, slip. You can name it a state name, whatever. Sure. It doesn't matter. You also, but make sure you have that backside, that screening action here. You don't want them to be stagnant, because they'll slip their guys down into that lane and help. But yeah, 1 catches 2, and again, we talk about that catch and rip. 1 doesn't have to shoot 3. 1 can catch, rip to the rim. Mm-hmm. And he's got 5 coming back off that down to the block. So simple stuff, and it's really effective.
I don't want to get ahead of myself here, because I know you have some counters you want to talk about. I'm seeing some so many options and opportunities off of this. But one thing I did want to ask, as before we get into the kind of next option, is just thinking about how the continuity piece, the kind of reset of the offense, and then the 1 comes through, and then they become the screener. So you really need to have 5 players that are pretty interchangeable. Is that your team, or is that your experience with the offense?
That is. When we've had a lot of success with it, we've had guys. Again, it's all predicated. We'll run usually 4 guards. But our big is athletic. Last year we couldn't run it because I was blessed. I had at 8th grade, if you got 4 guys that are 5'11" or 6 foot, you better run something where you pound the post all the time. So, we ran Bill Self's high-low, which is another offense that I like a lot if you've got the bigs to do it. But we had this as an offense where if we needed to chew clock, and you get in January, and I think I had 2 of my bigs with influenza, and so we went back to the swing for a game, and you revisit it. 2 years ago is when we really had a lot of success. My big wasn't, he was tall and lanky, but he was good at attacking the basket. Wasn't the best shot in the world. So if they sagged, he could take a couple dribbles in and shoot from the free throw line, but he was really good at attacking. You got to have, if you've got, you got 5 guys that are small, probably not the offense for you. You need that. You need some variation, because you want them to switch screens. Because that's when the opportunity presents itself to take advantage. I got one more. I'm not going to share a lot of counters because I don't want to overload coaches. Because I think if the coaches just get creative with what I show you, you can do all sorts of stuff. Screen the ball. One little thing too is just a simple, when you reverse that, dribbling action at that guy and he back cuts. Let me see here. me get it to where I show you. Dribbling at that guy, and that's up almost like a Princeton, out of the Princeton office. Dribble over there, back cut, hit him on the back door, stuff like that. But we got a good one, and let me set it up. We call this over, and you'll see why we call it over. I got my 2 here, and this is after you've run it a little bit. And so when 5 has the ball on that reversal, and he makes that pass right there, and he's got to make that flex cut right there, and we've made this pass here, this is where you get teams 2. You get them napping. We call it over. After 1 sets this flex cut, he'll come up and set this back screen on 5. So you're getting a point guard screen and a big, and we'll go and look for that little lob or that back cut right there. Now, if they switch it, this is where you kind of get a Bill Self continuity offense, a high-low. If he switches it, and I hope this isn't confusing. So if you got 5 in the paint and 1 up here, and they switched, and you've got 1 guard and 5 in the paint, our guys will yell, fire, 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 swing it back over, dribble, hit the post, and you've got a disadvantage. You score on them. Did that make sense?
It does, and I really like, with these back screens, you're going to see a tendency, I think, from a lot of teams, especially now. There's a lot more teams switching, and you're going to see probably some tendencies of teams that they're going to make those switches. And even if they work on post defense with some players who might not be as tall or typical to play in that position, it's still hard in the course of the game to get that matchup. And if you have a 5 that, can get in there and mix it up a little bit and is kind of versatile, that's really tough to defend that counter with the 1 screening for them, because, it's obviously going to create a mismatch. So I really, really like that as another option. And just, these are simple wrinkles off kind of that base look that you shared. And I feel like they can go a long way, though.
Yeah, and we won't put in a lot of sets in because we don't have to. We have these counters when we get man played on us, and we'll run it. We'll run over. We'll run bump. If you've got the little Princeton, that dribble at the wing, back cut. I mean, whatever you want to call it, back, whatever. Wing. If I had 1 year, I called it wing, and all I did was a chicken wing if I needed to call it, and the kids knew. You didn't need to holler it. So there's a lot of different things. I just encourage coaches to get creative with it, and maybe this doesn't suit you, but maybe there's something you could get creative with. It does. We had 1 year with this, we hollered fire, and before we did the other one, and that just meant we need to get a quick basket. We had a really good point guard. Our 5 came up, set that ball screen, and our 1 just tried to get in the lane and kick for that 3 or get a little runner. So.
Yeah, just a lot of great options. I was actually, I was going to ask, as I looked at I believe it was the 3 who would screen away for the 4, kind of that, or whoever the players are, whoever you put there. But that initial action, you get the UCLA cut through the paint, and then you had the screen away at the top. And have you ever kind of reversed those roles on the backside and had like a flare screen option? Has that been a wrinkle or something that you've used, or just thinking that also there's just so many things you can see in little things depending on the players. If you have a great shooter and you want to take advantage of that, and there's just different things I think you can do. And you already shared 3 great options.
We haven't, but we're going to now. So thank you. We had one where it's real simple. I don't know what we called it. It was big or little. But the thing was I had 2 lanky guards, and they both could post up. So if I called big, that was one where the guy, we set a script, pick and roll, and we looked to not necessarily get in the lane, but pin him down on the block and get a little dump down on a mismatch. But there's so much you can do, and the flare screen will work too. Middle school, sometimes it's hard to find really good shooters, kids that invest themselves and stay after practice and get those shots up. That's the hard transition going from high school to middle school. I think in middle school, they haven't found that drive, intrinsic drive yet to know what they're capable of and what that journey does for you of hard work. The process. They haven't figured that process out yet. So you just got to push them. Middle school kids and even high school kids now, when they want to be like Steph Curry, they'll go out to half court and they'll start popping shots from deep 40 feet. And you're like, you have to show them where they need to shoot. You know, every day we have a deal in practice. We call them MJs. Sorry, LeBron fans. I tell my kids every day he's the GOAT. And we have MJs where it's just a shooting progression and where we're just working on close to the basket and working our way out. And we emphasize, don't go into the gym and start jacking threes. And then when you airball, look around like, oh, I'm not warmed up yet. Yeah, you're right. But it's a process. So.
Coach, just thinking about the offense, I appreciate you taking us through the basics and then a couple of the counters off of it. You know, in seeing that, I feel like you probably could, against, you know, team playing man-to-man, you probably could be in the base swing throughout the game. You know, do you have, and I know it's not going to be exact, but just wondering for coaches who are watching out there, you know, how often are you in that base versus adding in those wrinkles? Are they just sprinkled in throughout the game, or does it depend on the opponent? Just as coaches are watching this, it's probably something they would want to consider.
You know, oddly enough, we'll start out in base. If we can, it's almost like I coached football for 15 years. If you can't stop the run, we're not going to quit. I was a ground and pound guy. And so we come out in base, and if you can't stop our basic action, you don't deserve to see our counters. I mean, that's kind of confident, but if you can't stop us, then you need to think about what you're doing. We'll do them out of timeouts. What's unique about our middle school league is it is made up of a bunch of high school coaches. You know, I got a guy I coach against that's like 60 years old who's coached high school ball for like 40 years and won this title and that title. And man, you got to bring it in this middle school league. And so they'll scout you. They'll watch film and they'll scout you. And that's what I try to tell my kids. And they come up from, you know, travel ball is like, it ain't going to work now because the second time you play, and these are good coaches, they're going to take away what you can and can't do. So we will, the second time around is usually when we'll start unleashing the counters, and you know, we kind of keep them in our back pocket. We teach those kids when to score at the right time, and that usually is okay. Second time around, the counter's got to come out if you want to win. And I'm sure that's the way it is, you know, high school too. You know, I wish I knew what I know now. I wish I knew that back then. I would have been a way better coach.
Don't we all? That's awesome though too, that you guys are to have that highly competitive experience for kids, that, you know, with other high school coaches or former high school coaches, that it's very competitive, and to set them up for success in high school sounds like a great league and really high level of competition. So just thinking about the offense, and, you know, coaches are going to check this video out and they're going to see this. And I see many things I like, from right off the bat, from the UCLA cut right to that first counter where the one loops back up and the 5 kind of slips to the hoop. So there's a lot of great things within this offense. You did a really nice job taking us through it. What advice do you have for coaches that are saying, I think this could fit my team, I think I want to run this with my team? What advice do you have for them as they consider incorporating this with their team?
Well, you need to evaluate your talent. Obviously, you know, that was probably the biggest mistake I had as a young coach, is I fell in love with the offense because I loved the coach that was running it. And I didn't take the time to evaluate what I had. It is not an offense for everybody. And what you got a bunch of moving pieces. If you need a guy that can run the show, you got a really good point guard. You need that big that could put the ball on the floor, or he has to be a really good outside shooter. But you got to teach guys to attack. But evaluate your personnel. If it doesn't fit your personnel, don't do it. I'm not a big system guy. like I said, we don't run swing every year. You got to adapt to your kids, and maybe that means tinkering around with the offense to adapt to it, but to evaluate what you got. And then if you say, wow, I could put Billy here, and I could put Timmy here, and I could put, Justin here, and that would really fit. And if you can, then you got something.
That's great advice for coaches. And I think that adaptability is something, you develop over time as a coach, and understanding your players and how to use and really work to your strengths. And I feel like based on the video and the offense and kind of some of the counters, I feel like you're probably going to have some coaches that are going to watch this and maybe want to connect with you outside to ask some questions. So is there a way that they would be able to reach out to you, or a best way they could reach out to you if they do have questions about this offense?
Absolutely. I can share my Twitter, address, or my call. It's here. Let me just share my screen with you, Coach. This is basically our Facebook page, our Instagram account, and there's my Twitter right there. Feel free. I love talking basketball. So we don't do anything super special. The one thing I think that I can connect with people is I'm just a small town middle school basketball coach. And I'm a guy that has had highs and lows in coaching, probably more lows than highs. And so I'd love to, I'm like a lot of guys. So shoot me a message on Twitter, private message. And then I can share my email to them if they hook up with me that way. And if you like, we do, as I'll talk about, our Instagram page and our Facebook page is predicated on our team motto, which is "We rise by lifting others." And so we share a lot of different things, quotes, videos, stuff like that. So hit me up. I'd be glad to talk some basketball with you.
That's awesome, Coach. I appreciate you sharing that information. I think some coaches are going to hit you up, if not for the swing offense, just to talk hoops and maybe learn a little bit more about your motto as well. I just want to thank you for taking the time to talk hoops, and I know that we are going to do this again in the future. So I appreciate your time tonight.
Man, I appreciate it too. And with the new way the world's working, and Zoom's becoming kind of a thing. So anything I can do for coaches, I'd be glad to help, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Coach.